So a lot of people were asking me if I thought that the glass could be separated from the LCD on the G3. In short, yes it can. And although I don't have a G3 on hand to test the LCD that I removed, I'm confident that it wasn't damaged during this process. However, keep in mind that you'll still want to buy the LOCA mold holder, glue, UV lamp, heating plate, and the molybdenum wire in order to make this work properly. There are other ways to get it done, but doing it the right way makes your life a lot easier and it decreases the chances of causing any damage to the phone or the display. For most people, purchasing the complete assembly shown in my previous G3 video is the safest and easiest option. You can also use that video as a reference in order to get to this point. So we're going to start with our molybdenum wire. This stuff comes on a roll and they give you two little sticks when you buy the heating plate. They don't give you a whole lot of length, so I actually bought some extra wire. This stuff is pretty cheap and it basically winds around these little screws at the end of these sticks. You could probably use a couple of pencils for this, for pretty much anything you can wrap them around. I don't recommend wrapping it around your fingers though, because when you're pulling on the glass, it can put a lot of tension on the wire pretty much, and the stuff kind of digs into your skin. So again, you can wrap it around just about any type of two pieces of whatever wood, drumsticks if you want. Now this stuff is a little tough to get off the roll. I took the tape off and I would set that aside and keep it for later on so that we can tape it back up. But I mean, it's really, really fine. It's almost like a fine thread. Hopefully you can see that in the video. And what this is meant to do is have a very smooth surface so that when we pull it along the LCD and the glass, it's not going to cause any scratches to the LCD pretty much. So the glass is going in the trash, obviously. But it's a little tricky to get this stuff on here. You just want to kind of wind it up a couple times. You can see I kind of fumbled with it a little bit here. So it took me a minute or two to get it threaded. But once you get it wrapped around there and you tighten it, putting the second one on is a little bit easier. So you can see I wound it up there quite a few times just to make it stay in place. So now that I'm not really dealing with the loose end, it's pretty easy to wrap this up and get it tightened down. All right, so now we have this plenty of length on it. We don't want to make it too long, but you can always wrap it up if you need to go shorter. It's better to be too much wire than not enough, of course. So next we have our heating plate. This is the one I typically use for smaller phones, and it's got temperature adjustments, power switch on the front, and you can see it has clamps on the top. This is in order to clamp the lens down so that it stays stable. Now the thing was, I didn't have my tablet heating plate with me, so I'm actually using one that's a little bit small for the G3 because the screen is really tall. What I ended up doing was removing two of the clamps, and you can take these out with the Phillips driver, and it actually became a little bit awkward, but I was able to get the job done. So you'll see here in just a minute, I actually completely removed those upper two clamps, and I'm just going to be using the bottom ones. And the whole idea is that we can get on top of the glass and be very careful. Of course, you don't want to hit the LCD at all. Those things are pretty sensitive, especially because there's no panel on the back of it right now. But if you just clamp this down right onto the glass, this is designed to keep the entire piece stable while you're working with it. Now, again, keep in mind, I'm only working at about 50% right now because I'm supposed to have two clamps on the opposite side, but again, they just simply will not fit. So I'm going to see, I got this far and I figured, what the heck, I'll give it a try and see if I can get it to make do. Again, I like to have the right tools for the job, but sometimes you do have to improvise a little bit. So got that all plugged in, turn it on. These things heat up very fast and they will burn you. Now the idea is we're going to take the wire and go underneath the LCD, so we want to make sure we get all the way down to where we're actually touching the glass, and then we're just going to kind of work it back and forth gently as we pull it from one end of the screen to the other. And when you get this up to the ideal temperature, it almost slides through like a knife through butter. But the trick is, if you get it too hot, you will burn the LCD. If it's not hot enough, you're going to tell there's a lot of resistance and it's hard to get the wire to go through. So I was kind of guessing on this one. I ended up settling on 95 Celsius, and that was about the right temperature. I suspect it might need to go, it could go a little bit higher. You can see I'm at 39 right now. So right around 95, 100 is probably as high as you want to go on this one. I found that to work out. And the funny thing about these plates is they kind of overshoot the temperature when you turn them on. So it's going to go from 0 up to about 120, and then it'll go back down to 95. So usually you have to give them a little bit of time to stabilize. I thought about going in from the other end, but I didn't think that was going to work. So now that see, we're up at about 65, 66. So you can see this thing moves up really fast. And you have to just kind of keep an eye on the temperature and make sure it stays stable. There is an adjustment screw that allows you to kind of calibrate it. But again, we're working within a certain temperature range. I'm going to say probably a good 10 to 20 degrees cushion, but we want to get as close to the optimum temperature as we can. Right, so once we've got it warm enough, we're going to get this right up against the glass, and this plate won't burn you immediately, but if you hold your hand there for a minute, it will. It gets very warm. So I was able to kind of manipulate this. Again, you can see I thought about going from the opposite end, but it kept lifting up. So I'm going to start from here and just very gently move back and forth, and you'll see it just kind of starts to slide between the glass and the LCD very smoothly in the beginning. I got about halfway through, if I remember correctly. And then ran into one of the common things that happens here. This is a very thin wire, and oh, my actually slipped out of the clamp. So again, I'm only using 2 out of 4 clamps. Made it a little bit hard to keep it stable, but you can see I'm making it through quite a ways, about a third of the way through at this point. So I thought I could get this clamp down quickly and continue working. Again, the thing is, you don't want to leave the LCD on here for too long. If you do, it gets too hot and it burns, and then you get to buy a whole new piece. So I'm going to set this aside for a minute and go ahead and get this back to the right. Basically, I let it cool off, put the plate back on and turned it on, and picked up where I left off. And you can see I didn't quite have it hot enough at this point, because as I'm pulling through here, I'm starting to get a lot of resistance on the wire, and you'll kind of get a feel for this as you practice over time. It gets to the point where you can just kind of sense that you're getting close to the breaking point. Right, so you see about 2/3 of the way through I actually broke the wire. So fortunately I have a whole spool of this. We'll take the LCD off again, rethread the wire, and start where we left off. So I've got it clamped down here back into position. Not too much further to go, and I actually broke the wire again. So you'll have to see this stuff. It's really kind of amazing. It's very thin, very smooth, but it's not all that strong. So again, when you start, especially when you're working back and forth like this, I think it creates friction in addition to the heat that you've already got on the wire. So you can only put so much tension on them and they just snap. So we're going to do this one more time, and third time is the charm. And for the record, I usually get through a screen like this in about 30 to 45 seconds once the plate is at temperature. So this is the long drawn out version of the process, because again, I'm kind of working with a bit of a handicap here. I was really just trying to hurry and get through this because I didn't want the LCD to overheat, and this thing kept slipping. So you can see I got to the point where I could feel that it was sliding through very smoothly underneath the glass, and I just wanted to get this done and not have to heat it up again. So I don't even have anything clamped down at this point. I'm kind of just touching it enough to make it have contact with the plate so that the whole surface gets warmed. And then you'll see that when it reaches this particular temperature, which is just under 100 degrees Celsius, it gets much easier to move the wire through the assembly. And of course, once we get all the way through, we want to get off of the hot plate as soon as possible. And you can see we got all the way through the glass. I'm going to have to go ahead and remove that the rest of the way at the top. And the next step, of course, is getting the new digitizer and attaching it to the LCD. Unfortunately, I do not have a G3 on hand right now. So as soon as I get one, I will continue this video. I like to do a complete video whenever possible, but I just don't have the phone right now. You can see there's a little bit of tape holding this together. But as soon as I get another G3 and a digitizer, mold, LOCA, etc., I will put this back together and hopefully have it looking like new. If you found the video helpful, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and feel free to share it on the social media platform of your choice. For more information, visit us on the web at gocellphonerepair.com. Thanks for watching.